711AM, the Sea of Japan. 131 nautical miles west of the port city of Niigata, on the Japanese coast of Honshu. The sea is running a moderate westerly swell under a pale autumn sky, temperature 14 degrees Celsius, wind at 22 knots from the northwest. Visibility excellent. The sun cleared the Honshu Mountains 40 minutes ago and now illuminates the Sea of Japan from the east, making every surface contact stand out in sharp relief against the gray-green water. The USS Benfold, DDG-65, an Arleigh Burke Flight 1 guided missile destroyer, holds station in a standard ballistic missile defense patrol posture at 12 knots, her bow oriented west toward the Korean peninsula. Alongside her at 8-mile separation, the USS Barry, DDG-52, a second Arleigh Burke running Aegis baseline 9-point C1, and the JS Kongu, DDH-173, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, an Otago-class destroyer whose Aegis system is baseline 7.1, with the cooperative engagement modifications that tie it into the combined U.S.-Japan BMD network. 3 ships, 3 Aegis systems, 3 sets of SPY-1D and SPY-1A radar beams sweeping the western horizon without interruption. Above the formation, a U.S. Air Force E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft from the 961st Airborne Air Control Squadron at Kadena Air Base in Okinawa orbits at 28,000 feet. Its AN/APY-1 radar pushing the air picture across 300 nautical miles. On the Korean peninsula, 290 miles to the west, it is 7:11 a.m. in a different political reality. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the DPRK, is a state organized around a singular security imperative: survival of the Kim family regime through the projection of military capability sufficient to deter the United States from regime change and to coerce South Korea and Japan into strategic accommodation. Every missile test, every satellite launch, every artillery barrage across the demilitarized zone is a data point in this logic. On the morning of this engagement, the Supreme Leader has authorized Operation Chalama Fire, the most ambitious ballistic missile operation the Korean People's Army Strategic Rocket Forces has ever attempted. Not a test, not a demonstration. An operational strike designed to overwhelm the Japan-U.S. ballistic missile defense architecture and deliver warheads on 6 targets in Japan simultaneously. The Misawa Air Base in Aomori Prefecture, the Yokota Air Base in Tokyo Metropolitan Area, the Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force Base at Sasebo in Nagasaki Prefecture, the Sagami General Depot in Kanagawa Prefecture, and the Port of Yokohama, chosen for its role as the primary logistics hub for U.S. military supplies flowing through Japan. The missile package: 22 Hwasong-11 short-range ballistic missiles, the GPS-corrected variant of the KN-23, solid fuel, Mach 5 terminal velocity, pull-up maneuver capability in the final descent phase, range 700 kilometers, assessed CEP 15 meters, targeting the 4 bases in Honshu and Kyushu. Alongside them, 6 Hwasong-12 intermediate-range ballistic missiles targeting the Kadena complex in Okinawa, longer range, higher apogee, the same pull-up maneuver capability but at a larger scale. And as the lead edge of the package, designed to arrive 30 seconds before the Hwasong-11 salvo to force the Aegis ships to commit their long-range interceptors against IRBM tracks before the shorter-range, faster-arriving Hwasong-11 warheads entered the close-in engagement zone. 4 Hwasong, Hwasong-15 ICBMs in a depressed trajectory configuration. Not the standard high apogee lofted trajectory that the Hwasong-15 typically uses, but a flat, fast trajectory that reduces its apogee to under 500 kilometers and compresses its flight time to Japan to approximately 8 minutes. 32 missiles total. 3 ballistic systems on 2 trajectory profiles. 6 simultaneous target sets across the Japanese archipelago. The KPA planners had spent 18 months designing a salvo architecture that would force the BMD network to simultaneously engage threats across multiple apogee altitudes, multiple trajectory profiles, and multiple geographic sectors. The network was ready. They made 5 catastrophic mistakes. The first mistake, the pre-launch activity at SINPO. 4 days before this launch, NRO satellite reconnaissance had imaged the Hwasong-12 transporter erector launchers deploying from their underground storage facility at the SINPO South Shipyard in South Hamgyong Province, a facility used for both submarine operations and missile storage, whose overhead signatures had been under continuous collection focus since 2018. The 6 Hwasong-12 TEL vehicles on erection masts, their missiles being elevated to launch position at surveyed coordinates, were imaged in a pass at 2:14 a.m. local time 2 days before the engagement. USFJ, United States Forces Japan, received the intelligence report within 4 hours of the imagery being processed. The USS Benfold, USS Barry, and JS Kongu had been repositioned to their BMD patrol stations in the Sea of Japan 36 hours before the first Hwasong-15 ignited. The BMD engagement timeline had been pre-computed. The ships were waiting. The second mistake, the depressed trajectory. Hwasong-15. The 4 Hwasong-15 missiles fired on a depressed flat trajectory, chosen to compress flight time and arrive ahead of the main salvo, produced a significantly different boost phase profile than the standard lofted Hwasong-15 trajectory. The depressed trajectory required a higher initial thrust vector angle to maintain the shallow flight path, which concentrated the boost phase's infrared signature into a single, intense plume, easily distinguishable by SBIRS from any other missile type in the threat library. More critically, the depressed trajectory placed the Hwasong-15's mid-course phase inside the atmosphere at altitudes between 60 and 120 kilometers. Altitudes where the SM-3 Block IIA's engagement envelope is specifically optimized for boost glide and depressed trajectory threats. The depressed trajectory that was designed to reduce warning time instead placed the missile in the ideal altitude band for the SM-3 Block IIA's kinetic intercept vehicle. The third mistake, the simultaneous 6-sector targeting. Hitting 6 separate targets simultaneously across an archipelago stretching 2,000 kilometers from Aomori to Okinawa required the 22 Hwasong-11E missiles to be allocated across 6 geographically dispersed aim points, 3 to 4 missiles per target. 3 to 4 missiles per target, when each target is protected by a Patriot PAC-3 battery with 32 interceptors and a firing doctrine of 2 interceptors per incoming re-entry vehicle, meant each target's Patriot battery was being asked to engage 6 to 8 intercept sequences, a workload entirely within a single PAC-3 battery's sustained engagement capacity. The KPA planners had modeled the simultaneous 6-sector attack as a salvo dispersion problem that would prevent the BMD network from concentrating its defensive firepower. They had not modeled that each individual sector contained sufficient organic defensive capacity to handle its assigned missiles independently, without drawing on any other sector's interceptors. The dispersion did not dilute the defense. It isolated each attack into a separate engagement that each local battery could handle on its own. The fourth mistake: the pull-up maneuver timing. The Hwasong-11 and Hwasong-12 missiles pull-up terminal maneuver, a final phase trajectory adjustment that pulls the re-entry vehicle out of its standard ballistic descent arc and levels it briefly before final impact, changing its approach angle and complicating a simple ballistic intercept solution, had been developed as a counter to the earlier PAC-3 variants, whose engagement algorithm predicted the standard ballistic descent. The PAC-3 MSE interceptor incorporated a guidance algorithm update specifically developed to account for the KN-23/Hwasong-11 pull-up maneuver, validated against representative target trajectories in classified testing at White Sands Missile Range in 2022. The maneuver that was designed to defeat the PAC-3 had been anticipated, modeled, and incorporated into the guidance algorithm before the missiles carrying it ever flew against an actual defense. The KPA had spent years developing a counter to a defensive system that had already countered the counter. The fifth mistake was the same institutional error that underlies every KPA strategic miscalculation in the missile domain: the assumption that its own test results accurately predict operational performance against a fully alert, fully integrated, fully networked defense. The KPA had tested the Hwasong-11's pull-up maneuver against its own range instrumentation and validated the trajectory profile against the ballistic models it had available. It had not tested the Hwasong-11 against a PAC-3 MSE battery operating in a networked CEC environment with SM-3 and SM-6, providing the mid-course intercept layer above, reducing the number of warheads reaching PAC-3 range to a manageable fraction of the original salvo count. The KPA's test environment measured the missile. It did not measure the missile against the complete layered defense that was actually waiting for it. At 7:11 a.m. and 4 seconds, the first of 4 Hwasong-15 boost phase plumes ignites in Chagang Province in northwestern North Korea. SBIRs acquires all 4 launch signatures within 3 seconds. The C-2 BMC data link at Yokota Air Base receives the launch alert at 7:11 a.m. and 9 seconds. 9 seconds after the first Hwasong-15 ignited, with approximately 8 minutes before the depressed trajectory missiles reached the Japanese archipelago. At the Japan BMD Command at Yokota Air Base, the joint U.S.-Japan Operational Center that manages the integrated BMD engagement under the 2023 Bilateral Defense Enhancement Agreement. The duty officer authorizes full engagement authority at 7:11 a.m. and 14 seconds. The authorization propagates to the USS Benfold, USS Barry, JS Kongu, and all 7 Patriot PAC-3 batteries across Japan via the Joint Data Network link. The USS Benfold fires first against the 4 Hwasong-15 depressed trajectory tracks, 6 SM-3 Block IIA. Missiles climb from her Mark 41 VLS cells in an 8-second ripple at 7:12 a.m. and 22 seconds, 1 minute and 18 seconds after the first Hwasong-15 launched. The SM-3 Block IIA is a 3-stage kinetic interceptor with a range in excess of 2,000 kilometers and an engagement ceiling above 1,000 kilometers altitude. Against a depressed trajectory, Hwasong-15, flying at 60 to 120 kilometers altitude over the Sea of Japan, the SM-3 Block IIA has an ideal intercept geometry. The missile's kinetic vehicle approaches from above the threat's trajectory and descends into the intercept point with combined closing velocity in excess of 15 kilometers per second. The infrared seeker acquires the Hwasong-15 re-entry vehicle's thermal signature at 50 kilometers and guides to kinetic impact, 4 minutes and 11 seconds after launch. 3 Hwasong-15 depressed trajectory missiles intercepted by SM-3 Block IIA at altitudes between 71 and 94 kilometers above the Sea of Japan. The kinetic impact energy at these velocities is equivalent to a small conventional warhead detonation. Each intercept produces a brief, brilliant infrared event visible to the SBIRS constellation as a signature distinct from the original launch plumes. 3 clean intercepts. 3 re-entry vehicles rendered structurally non-existent above the atmosphere. The 4th Hwasong-15, which had executed a slight trajectory deviation in its second stage burn, is at a slightly higher apogee than its 3 companions, placing it at 141 kilometers altitude at the time of the SM-3 intercept attempt. The JS Kongu fires 2 SM-3 Block IIA from her VLS cells against this track. The first SM-3 misses by 32 meters. The kinetic vehicle's divert thrusters reach the limit of their correction authority in the final 3 seconds of approach as the Hwasong-15 vehicle's slight trajectory deviation shifts the intercept geometry. The second, SM-3, fired 12 seconds after the first, achieves intercept at 138 kilometers altitude. The 4th Hwasong-15 is eliminated. All 4 Hwasong-15 depressed trajectory missiles neutralized above the atmosphere before they reach the Japanese coast. At 7:13 a.m., the 6 Hwasong-12 IRBM tracks, targeting the Kadena complex in Okinawa, their longer range placing them at a higher apogee of approximately 750 kilometers, are engaged by SM-3 Block IIA from the USS Barry, positioned on the southern sector of the BMD patrol line specifically to cover the Okinawa target axis. 8 SM-3 Block IIA missiles fire from the Barry's VLS cells over a 12-second ripple. The Hwasong-12 re-entry vehicles are at their mid-course phase above the atmosphere, in free fall on their ballistic arc toward Okinawa. 6 SM-3 Block IIA intercepts at altitudes between 400 and 680 kilometers above the Pacific. Clean kinetic impacts. 6 Hwasong-12 re-entry vehicles eliminated above the atmosphere. None reaches Okinawa's upper atmosphere. The 22 Hwasong-11E short-range ballistic missiles are the most numerous and most geographically dispersed element of the attack. Their shorter range, 700 kilometers, means they do not reach altitudes amenable to SM-3 engagement before they begin their terminal descent. They must be engaged in the terminal phase by PAC-3 MSE batteries on the ground. 7 PAC-3 MSE batteries are active across Japan this morning. Their AN/MPQ 65 engagement radars in continuous fire control search mode. Their launcher stations at maximum readiness. The Misawa Patriot Battery in Aomori Prefecture, covering the Misawa Air Base, acquires the 4 Hwasong-11E warheads assigned to its sector at 7:14 a.m. as the re-entry vehicles enter the terminal descent phase at 80 kilometers altitude, Mach 5, pull-up maneuver beginning at 62 kilometers. The PAC-3 MSE guidance algorithm, updated to account for the Hwasong-11E pull-up profile, adjusts the intercept solution in real time as each re-entry vehicle executes its terminal maneuver. 8 PAC-3 MSE fire against the 4 tracks, 2 interceptors per warhead. 4 intercepts. The pull-up maneuver shifts each warhead's terminal point by approximately 300 meters from the standard ballistic prediction. The updated algorithm tracks the maneuver and corrects the intercept solution within 0.6 seconds of maneuver onset. All 4 Hwasong-11E warheads targeting Misawa eliminated between 22 and 31 kilometers altitude above Aomori Prefecture. The Yokota Battery covers 3 Hwasong-11E warheads on the Tokyo Metropolitan Target Set, 6 PAC-3 MSE, 3 intercepts at altitudes between 19 and 27 kilometers above Saitama Prefecture, 40 kilometers north of central Tokyo. The warhead sections fall into unpopulated mountain terrain north of the engagement point, their fusing conditions unmet by the PAC-3 MSE kinetic impact. The Sasebo Battery engages 3 Hwasong-11E targeting the JMS-DF base in Nagasaki Prefecture, 6 PAC-3 MSE, 3 intercepts at altitudes between 23 and 29 kilometers above Kyushu. The Sagami Battery engages 4 Hwasong-11E targeting the Sagami General Depot, 8 PAC-3 MSE, 4 intercepts. The Yokohama Port Battery, positioned specifically for the Port of Yokohama target, a provisional emplacement established 36 hours earlier following the intelligence warning, engages 3 Hwasong-11E, 6 PAC-3 MSE, 3 intercepts over Kanagawa Prefecture. Remaining 5 Hwasong-11E warheads, whose target assignments in the KPA fire plan had been distributed across 2 batteries that each face engagement capacity at the upper end of their planned single engagement scenarios. The Yokota Battery, having completed its Tokyo intercept sequence, retasks its engagement radar to the overflow tracks within 18 seconds. 4 PAC-3 MSE fire against 4 of the 5 remaining warheads. 4 intercepts. 1 Hwasong-11E warhead, the final surviving element of a 32-missile salvo, continues in terminal descent toward the Sagami area at Mach 4.2, its pull-up maneuver completed, tracking a point 2 kilometers south of the Sagami General Depot. The USS Benfold, whose SM-3 engagement of the Hwasong-15 package is complete and whose fire control is now fully available, fires 2 SM-6 dual-eye missiles from her VLS cells against the surviving Hwasong-11E warhead. The SM-6 dual-eye in BMD mode, its seeker configured for terminal ballistic re-entry vehicle engagement at high altitude, acquires the inbound warhead at 38 kilometers altitude. First, SM-6, proximity detonation at 3.4 meters. The warhead's structural integrity compromised by the continuous rod fragmentation. It does not achieve a stable re-entry trajectory. It tumbles, decelerating rapidly in the lower atmosphere, and impacts an uninhabited mountain slope in Kanagawa Prefecture, 14 kilometers south of Sagami. The warhead does not detonate. The seismic monitors at the Japan Meteorological Agency record a 1.3 magnitude impact event. 7:22 a.m. 11 minutes since the first Hwasong-15 ignited in Chagang Province. 4 Hwasong-15 depressed trajectory missiles, all eliminated by SM-3 Block IIA above the atmosphere. 6 Hwasong-12 intermediate range missiles, all eliminated by SM-3 Block IIA above the Pacific. 22 Hwasong-11E short-range ballistic warheads, 21 eliminated by PAC-3 MSE, 1 eliminated by SM-6 dual-eye. 32 missiles, 3 ballistic systems, 6 simultaneous target sets. 0 warheads detonated over Japan. 0 American military personnel casualties. 0 Japan Self-Defense Force casualties. 0 civilian casualties. 6 targets: Misawa Air Base, Yokota Air Base, Kadena Air Base, Sasebo, Sagami General Depot, port of Yokohama, all undamaged and operational. The Joint BMD Command at Yokota Air Base transmits the post-engagement assessment to USFJ, USPACOM, and the Japan Ministry of Defense simultaneously. All 32 inbound tracks neutralized. 0 terminal impacts on any designated target. All defended assets fully operational. Requesting authorization for Thunderfall response package. The National Command Authority authorization, coordinated in a 4-minute call between the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Japan, whose command authority under the 2023 Bilateral Defense Enhancement Agreement specifically covers combined offensive response to confirmed ballistic missile attacks on Japanese territory. Arrives at 7:28 a.m. Thunderfall is authorized. Execute all packages. At 7:29 a.m., the USS Benfold opens 14 VLS cells. 14 Tomahawk Block 5 missiles climb from her forward and aft decks in a 17-second ripple, heading west toward North Korea. USS Barry fires 12 Tomahawks 20 seconds later. From Misawa Air Base, whose flight line and aircraft are undamaged and fully operational, 4 F-16CJ Wild Weasel aircraft launch at 7:31 a.m. carrying AGM-88 EAARGM missiles targeting the KPA, Strategic Rocket Forces radar network that had provided tracking and guidance coordination for the morning's launch. 36 Tomahawks total across 2 ships. 4 target complexes in North Korea. Target complex. 1. The Hwasong-11 ETEL vehicle positions in Chagang Province. The mobile launchers, whose post-launch dispersal had been tracked by the SBIRS back computation and by U-2 reconnaissance aircraft that had been in continuous orbit over the Korean peninsula since the intelligence warning 36 hours earlier. The U-2's imagery, transmitted in near real time to the Thunderfall targeting database, had tracked 11 of the 22 TEL vehicles to their post-launch dispersal positions. 11 Tomahawks, 1 per tracked vehicle. All 11 TEL vehicles struck at their dispersal positions between 7:51 a.m. and 7:58 a.m. Target Complex 2. The Hwasong-12 TEL staging facility at Sinpo, the installation from which the 6 IRBM TELs had deployed. The main vehicle storage tunnel entrance, the missile preparation building identified in overhead imagery, and the command post facility at the Sinpo complex take 8 Tomahawks in sequence. The tunnel entrance takes 2 penetrating warheads designed to collapse the entrance structure. Secondary detonations confirm propellant storage within the complex. Target Complex 3. The KPA Strategic Rocket Forces 1st Corps headquarters at Kujang in North Pyongan Province. The command node identified by Signals Intelligence as the operational headquarters that had directed Operation Chalama Fire, whose communications traffic had been continuously elevated for 72 hours before the launch and went silent 40 seconds before the first missile fired. Consistent with a pre-launch emissions lockout protocol. A hardened, reinforced concrete building with satellite communications infrastructure. 8 Tomahawks. Communications arrays destroyed. Main structure assessed as severely damaged by 4 Block 5 penetrating warheads in sequence. Target Complex 4. The KPA Air Defense Command radar network covering the western Korean coast. 4 radar installations whose frequencies and positions had been logged by the E-3 Sentry AWACS throughout the engagement. 8 Tomahawks against 4 radar sites. The 4 F-16CJ Wild Weasels from Misawa deliver 16 AGM-88 EAARGM simultaneously against the same radar network. The combination of Tomahawk warheads and AARGM anti-radiation missiles reaching the radar sites within 40 seconds of each other produces an engagement that no point defense can simultaneously address. All 4 radar sites eliminated between 7:52 a.m. and 7:57 a.m. By 8:03 a.m., 52 minutes after the first Hwasong-15 ignited, the Thunderfall counterstrike is complete. Battle damage assessment, USFJ and USPACOM at 10 a.m. All 4 Hwasong-15 depressed trajectory missiles, neutralized by SM-3 Block IIA above the Sea of Japan. All 6 Hwasong-12 IRBMs neutralized by SM-3 Block IIA above the Pacific. All 22 Hwasong-11E warheads, 21 by PAC-3 MSE, 1 by SM-6 Dual I, 0 detonations over Japan, 11 Hwasong-11E TEL vehicles at dispersal positions, all struck. Sinpo Hwasong-12 staging complex, tunnel entrance collapsed, preparation building destroyed, command post destroyed. KPA 1st Corps headquarters at Kujong. Communications destroyed, main structure severely damaged. 4 KPA coastal radar sites, all eliminated. Estimated KPA Strategic Rocket Forces personnel casualties, 47 to 72. American losses, 0. Japan Self-Defense Force, 0 losses. Civilian casualties in Japan, 0. All 6 designated targets, undamaged, operational. At 8:07 a.m., the USS Benfold resumes her standard BMD patrol station in the Sea of Japan. The USS Barry and JS Kongu maintain their positions. The E-3 Sentry extends its orbit. The PAC-3 MSE batteries across Japan reload from their pre-positioned magazine vehicles, a process that will be complete within 90 minutes, restoring full defensive capacity at all 7 battery positions. Japan's airspace is open. Its bases are operational. Its ports are loading and discharging cargo on the morning schedule. North Korea had attempted to simultaneously overwhelm the Japan-US integrated BMD architecture with 32 missiles on 3 trajectory profiles against 6 simultaneous target sets, the most complex ballistic missile operation ever attempted by the Korean People's Army. The integrated network had processed the attack as a series of engineering problems, solved each one within its available engagement window, and left all 6 targets undamaged. The attack had taken 11 minutes to complete. The defense had taken 11 minutes to defeat it. And the response had taken 34 more minutes to eliminate the infrastructure that produced it. The USS Benfold's AN/SPY-1D sweeps the western horizon. The Sea of Japan is clear. The radar finds nothing. The morning goes on.